The world's largest permeation testing lab.
Correct.
They said you make sure that potato chips are crispy.
When you open that bag of potato chips, you're thinking, well, they just screwed me out of all this. Well, it's not air, it's nitrogen. They know what they need to get to, and we know where they need to get to. Side of our package integrity testing, we're really on the quality assurance and quality control side of things. And when we sell them to people, we don't just sell them and walk away. We're there for the long haul.
Listen up, America. This is the American Made Podcast, the show that highlights America's business leaders and experts in all aspects of the manufacturing industry. If it's made in America, you'll find it here.
China. Made in America. Products made with American heart, American sweat.
Now, your host of the American Made Podcast, Jason J. Webb.
What's up, America? I'm here with Wade Sand, the Senior Sales Manager for the U.S. territory of Mocon. Now, Mocon got bought out by Amatec. Is that right, Wade?
That is correct.
About 5 years ago.
Yes.
All right. So how's that transition been when the big guy buys the smaller guy? And you guys aren't even small. Like, how many employees were you at the time? Do you remember 5 years ago?
We were around 150.
Wow. So Amatec comes along and they bought you guys, and it's mainly because they wanted to expand their reach, it sounds like, into the healthcare and food industry.
Correct. We were very attractive because those are the spaces we were in, and they were heavy in oil and gas and other electronic manufacturing, and us being in the healthcare and food space, it was really attractive for our technology for them.
Okay. So when somebody asks you who you work for, do you say Mocon?
Yes.
Okay.
We are still Mocon.
Okay. All right. So what does Mocon do?
We manufacture specialty instruments for measuring transmission rates of oxygen, water vapor for permeation, and as well as package testing instruments for measuring package integrity, as well as measuring headspace of a package for shelf life.
All right. So you put me to sleep there for a sec there, Wade. The person that scheduled this for me, right? They said you make sure that potato chips are crispy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go with that. How does that happen?
So let me explain what our instruments do. That's easier than me just telling you the science behind them.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm not the engineer that designs them. I just help sell them.
Okay.
So if you take a bag of potato chips or even a bag of shredded cheese, that film that pouch is made out of is one or multiple layers of film pressed together to make a film. So our instruments will measure how much oxygen and or water vapor that film holds in or allows to go out of that package.
Okay.
That's the permeation part of it, to keep moisture out. Moisture and oxygen is bad for shelf life.
Okay.
When they make that, they put that on a roll of film. That comes down, it gets filled with product. Typically, they flush it with nitrogen or nitrogen CO2, which helps get rid of the residual oxygen. Once that package is sealed, our instruments can measure the seal integrity to make sure there's no leaks to allow oxygen in that way. And then we also have instruments that measure the residual oxygen in the package to make sure there's minimal amount of oxygen for shelf life. So when you open that bag of potato chips and you're thinking, well, they just screwed me out of all this.
Yeah.
All this space
the damn
because
thing's only
it's
a
just
third
air.
full. Yeah.
Well, it's not air, it's nitrogen. And it's also why it helps get rid of the oxygen for shelf life, but it also cushions the product as it ships. So therefore, when you open up a bag of potato chips, it's not all crumbs.
So it's all by design. It's not false advertising.
Correct.
Gotcha.
I used to think the same thing until I started with Mocon and I started learning all about this. So.
Yeah, I always thought well, this is pretty inefficient shipping costs and packaging, because they could probably fit like 3 times as many potato chips in that box than what they do. Because it's only a third full or a half full, it seems like. Right. So you guys don't make the packaging, but you make the instruments that measure the capabilities, the permeability, the sealing quality of the packaging, just to make sure that the food product in this case has the desired effect, desired shelf life, the desired crispiness, that type of thing.
Correct. And so for the film industry and the extruding industry, we work with everyone from the resin manufacturers to the film converters to
Film, like
So they take the resin and they get little
the film on the packaging.
Yep.
Okay.
So when to get to that point, they have their pieces of particles that the extruders get, and they start making. And so before you get to a roll of film, you have a great big Gaylord box of all these little pieces of whatever the material is.
What's that? Like plastic,
polypropylene, whatever it is.
And then they
So
kind of
then
like press it like a particle board, like OSB.
Kinda,
Yeah.
I guess that'd be an easy way to explain it.
Yeah.
So they take those and then they process that into just a clear sheet of film. And then from the clear sheets of film, those go to a film converter who will then add sometimes barrier protection to it for better barrier protection on it. And then they also will do the printing on it. So that's where you see the brands get printed on there, the ingredients and all that. So they'll convert those clear films to the brand specific films for those customers.
And again, you're not making the film.
No,
you guys are making the instruments that measure the film.
Correct.
The film qualities.
The film barrier qualities.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's potato chips and cheese.
Well, that's a couple of them.
Yeah. What other?
And then if you look at vegetables, so vegetables have to breathe. You need oxygen for keep your lettuce green. So those are a porous package. So we also have instruments that'll measure. They have high transmitting. So you want that transmission of oxygen and water vapor in and out of that package. And then if you look at some of the healthcare applications where med device or even as they make implants that go inside a body or whatever, they need to be very sterile and very clean.
Yeah.
Those are very high barrier property films and packages that we measure at that level as well.
Huh. So what's your day like? I mean, you're a sales guy, right? First of all, are you meeting with clients face to face? Probably not much, are you?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know,
so like, give me an example of a typical sales call. Like, I don't know. I got an idea. I'm gonna stay on potato chips. I got a great idea for jalapeno barbecue kettle chips, right? And I know how to make the chips, but I don't know how to package them or what I need to put them in to make sure that they're delicious when you get them home. Would you meet with somebody like that?
We do. Typically, we have to. A lot of times when we meet with brand new customers like that, it's a lot of education because they know what they need to get to. And we know where they need to get to, but we don't do everything. So we have to know, okay, you need to talk to a gas company because you're going to have to flush it with nitrogen at least to get rid of the residual oxygen. You're going to need to talk to a packaging engineer on your packaging machine to make sure you got the right speed for the amount of packages a minute you want to package. And then at the end of that, we have instruments, once that package is finished, to tell you how well your process is. So on that side of our package integrity testing, we're really on the quality assurance and quality control side of things. And then the permeation side, we're really upstream working with the film manufacturers and the plastic extruders to say, okay, those guys talk to you making the chip saying, okay, I have this film that is designed for snack foods with this barrier properties, whatever.
Yeah.
And then our other instruments will measure if it's actually doing its job of keeping oxygen out and all that.
So you're not dealing with so much with the potato chip guy. It's more so the packaging company or the company that actually makes the film that makes the bags.
Right. And sometimes that is the brand owners of potato chips, whatever product it is the brand owners, but also co-packers that are packaging for the brand owners. Because a lot of times the brand owners don't have their own packaging capabilities. So then we work with their co-packers. And then we also work with all the film converters and extruders as well.
Gotcha. So how'd you get into this position? Let's talk a little bit about the man, Wade Sand. Where'd you grow up?
Grew up in North Dakota.
Did you play football? You built like a I don't know, like a right tackle.
I did. I was right and left tackle.
Oh, I nailed it.
So yeah, I can't get away from not saying I didn't play football because no one would believe me anyway. So,
Yeah. Did you play for NDSU?
no, out in Dickinson.
Oh, did you play college ball at
Yep.
all? Yeah. Dickinson?
Yep.
I didn't know they had a college.
Yeah.
All right. So you did you grow up on a farm?
No, I grew up in Grand Forks, North
Okay.
Dakota.
Okay.
So city for
Yeah.
North Dakota wise anyway.
Okay, cool.
And then moved down to the Twin Cities 23 years ago, coming up in September.
Right out of college?
No. Well, shortly after college, a couple years after college, just for better chance at opportunities and a little broader scope of possible job openings.
Yeah. Did you graduate college?
Yes.
Yeah. And what was your major?
So I ended up with a 2-year business degree. And then when I moved down to the cities here, I finished my 4-year degree at Metro State in St. Paul
In what?
in business and business management.
All right. So you got all this business knowledge and you moved to the metro and you graduate when you're here. What'd you do with all that newfound knowledge right out of college?
Well, while I was down here and finishing that, I had worked in the restaurant and bar industry for 14 years and managing bars and restaurants.
Oh,
And I knew I got really tired, burned out on the nights, weekends, and holidays, and
yeah.
always away. So when I finished my 4-year degree, I got out and got into channel marketing role. And it was similar to kind of sales, but not really.
What'd you call it? Channel marketing?
Channel marketing. So really working with a product group and finding that channel and marketing to that channel, working with the sales team. And
What's
at
an
that,
example of that? I'm still confused.
so working with vertical segments within a particular market.
Okay.
So at the time I was with Honeywell's building controls.
Okay.
So they have commercial and residential,
Yeah.
thermostats, whatever it is.
Okay.
Well, I was with the commercial side, so helping market the commercial channel
Okay.
to that market and working
Oh,
with
I
the sales
see.
team.
I see. So Honeywell is very diverse and they got a lot
Yes.
going on. And you were assigned to the commercial
Buildings product
buildings
group at that
products.
time. And I know they've changed immensely over the years.
And you did the marketing and
Part of the channel marketing, yes.
channel marketing. Yeah. All right. So I worked in a restaurant for a while too. Red Lobster. While I was going to college, and I became a chiropractor, and it seemed like all my chiropractic friends were working at the Red Lobster right down the street, right over here in Richfield. So I went to Northwestern College of Chiropractic in Bloomington, right off of Penn and 84th, and then there's a Red Lobster like a few blocks from there. Yeah, it was a good job. I mean, the tips were good. I just tried to work the money shifts, Friday, Saturday nights, but then they always stuck you on a crappy shift because you can't just cherry pick them all,
Sunday morning, Monday
yeah,
night.
Yeah, Sunday morning. I got a lot of those churchgoers coming after church. So cool. But you were a manager of the restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So after Honeywell, what happened?
So then I had a couple different sales jobs that didn't really pan out. And I was with one that it wasn't one I wanted to do or sell. It was more of a commodity sell.
Yeah.
And in my mind,
Insurance.
no, not. It was something that was just, if you could provide the lowest price per pound or whatever it was,
You win.
you'd win the business. I'm like, well, that's not,
What's the fun in
it's
that?
not challenging.
Yeah.
So I was looking at jobs and I saw the job description for Mocon and I read it and I'm like, well, I can do that. That's what I do now.
Yeah.
It didn't say anything about specific industry things or anything like that. So I'm like, yeah, I'll apply.
Yeah.
So I interviewed and in my interview, they asked me, well, do you know what permeation is? I looked at them and I said, nope, but I can learn.
Uh.
And Went through the process, got the job offer.
How big were they at this time when you first started working there? Employee size.
Probably
80-ish. And now they're
Around
about
that.
twice that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty close.
Yeah. All right. So you did the interview and they asked you about permeation.
Yep.
And you're like, no.
Nope.
But I can find out.
Yes, I will learn.
Yeah.
So that was my start of my, so far, just over 9-year career with Mocon.
Oh, nice. And now you're in this senior position. What's this position again? Senior U.S. Sales Manager. I assume you were not in that position day one.
No, I had my own territory, had my own region, and I still joke with my boss that I just want to go back to my own territory and disappear. Just go call on customers.
Less stress back then.
Yeah. But I also know I wanted more. I want to be able to help drive the business and really help driving the sales team as to how do we not just go to market, but how do we show our value and the solutions to customers? Because I really try to promote that we make the instruments for all these specialty things in the industry.
Yeah.
But we offer solutions, and that's what we really want to try to promote and show people that our instruments, and when we sell them to people, we don't just sell them and walk away. We're there for the long haul. Yeah. Within Mocon, we have the world's largest permeation testing lab. So if customers either can't...
Right here in Brooklyn Park?
Yes. And if they can't...
The world's largest permeation testing lab.
Correct.
In Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
Yes. Which is ISO certified. So if customers have questions on their materials, films, packages, they can send them to our lab and we can do verification and tell them what their properties are. Yeah. We can be a third-party lab for them. And some customers that make their own products or in the business don't have the funds or resources to have their own analytical lab. So they'll use our lab for those analytical sources.
How long has this company, Mocon, been around?
Almost 60 years now.
Do you know the history of it? How it got started?
So our founder was a food engineer, food scientist with General Mills. And at the time, they were wondering why cereal would get soggy. And with that, they realized it was moisture. So how do you avoid that? You got to find out what the barrier properties of film are. So based on that, he created the first water vapor permeation analyzer.
He created it?
He created it, yes.
So he's like an inventor kind of dude?
Yep. And in our office, we have a wall of patents, which I don't even know the total number of patents, but I know if I were to guess, it's probably at least 100-foot hallway
full of patents
from the very first one of the first infrared water vapor sensor permeation analyzer all the way to current day of patents. The company's really founded on that and founded on innovation and finding the things in the market that are really needed. And then how do we capitalize that and make that a part of what we already do to enhance our customers and make a total solution for our customers.
Interesting. What was that guy's name? Worked for General Mills back in the day. Remember his name? No. Call him Steve.
I can't remember his first name off the top of my head.
I'm on your website right now. I didn't see anything about the history on the website, but it's got a lot of product information here. Gas chromatographs. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Online map gas analyzers, gas mixers, package leak detectors, headspace map gas analyzers, permeation analyzers, VOC detectors, hydrocarbon analyzers. Jeez. I feel like I'm going back to science class here.
So a little bit more about that. There is a lot of products on the website. So we briefly discussed permeation and also the package testing, package integrity instruments for food, packaging, healthcare, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. We also have full line of process analyzers. So we have a process analyzer that can be an inline for dairy customers. So say when you're making butter, it has to have a certain percentage of fat. That has to be within a certain range.
Yeah.
Our analyzer can measure it in stream and tell those producers that, yes, you are within the tolerance. So that's one of the process analyzers we have. Some of the other gas chromatographs and other process analyzers we have really play into specialty gas monitoring. So for well logging, or when people are going to be drilling down in the ground, they can monitor what things are coming out for safety reasons,
Sure.
and for the EPA purposes. And then we also have ones that for healthcare packaging, a lot of times they will take a pallet and put it in a closed room and use ethylene oxide to sanitize the whole pallet. And we have analyzers that measure the amount of ethylene oxide in that space for health and safety reasons as well.
Yeah. How about breathalyzers?
No, we don't do anything with breathalyzers. We avoid breathalyzers, actually.
Oh, you guys got to come up with a weed analyzer. That's going to be a problem, I think.
It probably will be.
All these stoners driving around baked out of their mind, smashing into shit. So you've been in sales for a while, even before this job.
Yes.
What is it about sales that you feel like that you find attractive?
One, it's the daily challenge. It's never the same. I mean, every day there is nothing that occurred yesterday that's going to happen today.
Yeah.
There's going to be a new issue, a different customer, a different segment of the industry. It's just never the same. And I love that. And I love that ever-changing landscape as how it develops.
Yeah.
I like being the voice and able to deliver solutions to customers, but also at the same time help troubleshoot those issues that they're having, and being able to listen to the customers of what their needs are and really finding those solutions that where we can come in and help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've been in sales for quite a long time too. I've been in insurance since 2006. Prior to that, medical for me. I was a medic in the Army for 6 years. That's a picture of my basic training group there. And after the Army, or actually during the Army, I went to Normandale Community College over in Bloomington. I wanted to get into healthcare. And then I was on the fence between pre-med and chiropractic for quite a long time. And I started talking to medical doctors, just like casual conversations. Same thing with chiropractors. And the medical doctors, they seem like they're always under the I guess, feeling I got from them is that they're under a lot of stress. They can only spend a few minutes with each patient before they're, obligated to go to the next patient. And they didn't really enjoy their job all that much. Now, these are just general practitioners, right? Now, doing it over again, I feel like I kind of missed my calling. I think orthopedic surgery would have been pretty sweet. But anyway, I decided to become a chiropractor. And because part of that was all the chiropractors I spoke to seemed like they loved their job. And then I wanted to own a business with it, like a private practice. And anytime you own a business, well, now you're going to have to wear a sales hat, right? And that's one part of chiropractic that I enjoyed the most was the sales and the whole business aspect of it. I did not enjoy the patient treatment part. So I had a lot of things going on in my life at the time, and I decided to get out of chiropractic. Now, a couple of those things that were going on in my life was that I had this patient, Paul Guerrero, who owned an insurance agency. He's kind of like a pretty boy, frat boy kind of guy. And it's telling me how easy it was and how much money he was making, right? And I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. You read that book?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the premise of that book, if you haven't read it, it's all about finding sources of passive income, not trading your time for money. And being a chiropractor, that's all I was doing. If I wasn't there treating patients, I wasn't making any money, right? So decided to sell the practice. I moved back to Minnesota. I opened up an all-state insurance agency, and I was with them for a year before I became a broker or independent. And, one of the things I enjoy about sales is, I would say, serving people. Like my sales techniques is like, I have a process of selling, right? But it's all, I feel like, based around education. Like if you can teach somebody and give them options, then allow them to make the best decision for themselves. It doesn't feel like selling. When I think of selling, I think of like the used car lot guy, right? And it's kind of like slimy or creepy. And I didn't want to be that person. And I think no good salespeople are that way. It's more about education. And so I like the service piece of it, like educating people and solving their problem. But then sales too, I feel like most sales positions are commission, and you can kind of write your own paycheck depending on how hard you work and how good you do. Don't you agree?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So how long you been in this position now as the senior sales manager for the U.S.?
I believe 4 years now.
4 years?
Yes.
Oh man, they promoted you right away.
After a few years.
Yeah. Well, you were there for 9 total.
Yeah.
Right. So 5 years. So what's next for you? You going to take your boss's job, or you got your eye on something else as far as the next promotion?
Right now I just want to keep moving up into the sales leadership. And if that means, a director of sales and marketing for the Americas, or if that opens up even more to be, someday director of sales globally. Really want to be in a position where you can take a team, create a team, continue to develop them. My life in sports has that's how I know how to manage. I don't view managing people as managing. I view it as coaching, and I view it as, if it was an actual sports team, what do? You don't just manage them and micromanage them. You give them the tools to be successful, and they find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
That's really what I try to do with the sales team is, here's the tools we have. Here's how to optimize them. Here's how to use them. And then let them make their own choice on how they use them.
Yeah.
Because everyone has a different style. Everyone's got a different method. But if we have things in place and we all know the starting point, we all know what the end game is, we don't all have to get there at the same path,
Right.
but we have to get there.
Yeah. Have you done any coaching for like your kids' teams or anything?
Quite a bit.
Yeah. What sports?
Softball, soccer, baseball, football.
Did you love coaching football?
Yes. It was the one sport I was also told. It was the one sport I wasn't told not to coach again. Because I'm
too competitive.
I'm too competitive. I'm too aggressive, and I forgot that the kids are like 6 and 7 and 8.
You and me, we're like the
there-
same.
There was quite a few of sports seasons where there would be informal complaints, and then the formal complaints to the teams or the programs board.
Yeah. Yep.
They're like, well, we got to talk. I'm like, again?
So this just happened to me, man. So my boys went for soccer this year. They've done soccer. It took a couple of years off. They did soccer again. They're hockey players. Hockey's like year round. But they wanted to do soccer this year, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll be an assistant coach again. I've been their head coach before, but I didn't want to commit to the time because I got a lot going on at work and whatever. Well, no other parent volunteers, so guess what? I'm head coach, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, screw it, man. I'm gonna run this show the way I want to, and I want straight up old school football coach. You know, a lot of yelling. Drill sergeant, military-ish. Like when I assigned captains, and the captains had to have everybody spread out, and and in the military we had to spread out our arms, and they had to count off their calisthenics nice and loud, and we ran a lot of crushers, right? We had some crazy workouts, made some kids cry because they didn't think they could do it physically, and I didn't let anything slide, and I was so this is just practice, right? Like practice was like 9.9 intense, and then game time, right? And because I set the tone at practices, what I expect out of them, when they went out and played the game, we dominated every team, bro. Like 10-2 was the final score pretty much every game, and then they thought that was awesome. Not only winning, we're crushing them, and but yeah, I would get a little excited. Some swearing would happen, and the very last game was our only close game, and I got a little too intense. Apparently, one of the parents from the other team came up to me after the game, and as I'm got my boys like in a huddle, and I'm telling them how proud I am of them, and they did an awesome job this season. We went undefeated, yada yada. And then there's this little woman behind me. She's like, "Coach." So I turn around and I'm like, "Yeah," and she just starts laying into me about. Apparently, she could hear me swear from across the field, and like she felt I was too hard on the kids, and I tried to be apologetic at first. Like, I just let her say what she wanted to say. And I said, well, I'm sorry. Just hoping she would just kind of go away. But she wouldn't. Like, she wanted to teach me a lesson right there and then. I got all the kids here. I got parents there. And here she is, So then, yeah, I fired back. And then I told her to go talk to the director because I didn't give a shit what she had to say about me, right? It's like, this is volunteer. And so then I get heated, and then she kind of like, whoa, and then off she goes, right? And so I don't know if I'll be invited back to coach soccer next year or not, but the kids loved it. And, with that approach, I was afraid the parents, like I was going to turn the parents off, and I was have to hear about the parents, like, man, that's too hard on the kids. And dude, the parents loved it.
Yep.
They loved it. Like their kids had never experienced anything like that. And I had parents from other teams come up to me, say, hey, can I get my boy on your team? How do I get my kid switched over to your team? And I'm like, I don't know. Talk to the director, I guess. And then after the season, I had parents contacting me saying the only way little Joey is going to play soccer next year is if he's on your team. I'm like, and here I was feeling a little insecure on the inside about doing it my way, but it went over great.
That's the way I did football too, and I'd have the same thing. I really tried to be somewhat aware of words used because when you grow up in that, like things just fly out. So I mean, I really tried to watch that, but I get intense. I'm competitive, and I tell people, I go, you think I'm a bad winner? You should see how it goes if I lose. Like I already know. But, and it started when my son and his team were, well, probably when they're flag football first and second grade, but third grade, in the way up. But the same thing, like there were some kids that couldn't be there. I mean, I wasn't changing my style for one kid or one parent.
Yeah.
Because the rest were performing. The rest were showing up. The rest weren't missing practice. They were coming.
Yeah, giving 100%. That was my thing.
And I always told them, like, look, this is not just play around time. We're practicing because when we come to a game, that needs to be easy.
Yeah.
We can't be coaching at that point. We have to play.
Yeah.
And same thing. Year over year was, how do we get on your team? We're not playing if we can't be on your team. And, I'm like, here I thought no one liked my style, but.
Hey, man, it works. Yeah. And the boys, I could tell, they were super proud of themselves. Like I felt like they were pushing themselves beyond the point that they thought they were capable of, which gave them a sense of satisfaction on the inside. And I mean, I told them, I don't care how many goals you score or how many times you steal the ball or how many assists. All I care about is that you give me 100%. And I can tell when you're not. And if you're not giving me 100%, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have a problem. and they knew it. There was still a couple towards the end of the season that were, not giving me 100%. They've gotten better during the season, but even them, they enjoyed the experience. And there's one game that I missed, and I said, well, I'm not going to be here for the game next week. And the one kid who had a hard time giving me 100% when I said I wasn't going to be there next week, he had that look of disgust on his face. He's like, oh, like he was going to miss me not being there. And that took me back a little bit. And I'm like, whoa, like Leo, like you're going to miss me next week. But apparently he did. Well, that's awesome. You still got kids that play sports or no? Are they?
So my daughter just graduated. I'll be going to the University of Minnesota this fall. And my son is going to be a sophomore. And he has, as they get older, he has transitioned out to 100%. Well, mostly 100% hockey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So he last year was his last year at Bantam. So this year will be his first year of high school. So
oh, nice. What position does he play?
Forward.
Forward. Is he big like you?
No, thank God. I mean, maybe one day he is only 15 still.
Yeah.
But he's probably 5'10".
Okay.
170 pounds. I mean, he seems normal size for his buddies and who's around and stuff. But
yeah, he plays for Cottage Grove.
Yep.
Sweet. So my boys are 10 and 11. They're both be squirts this year. And my 11-year-old's going to be a second-year squirt. And my 10-year-old's going to be first-year squirt. But it's a big difference from mites to squirts. I mean, as far as number of practices and traveling to games and that type of thing. And they got tryouts this year. That's pretty awesome. So my 10-year-old, he's like, I better make the A team. I want to make the A team. Yeah. But sports are awesome. It's good for them.
It is. I mean, everything I learned in sports, I relate to what I do.
Real life.
Yeah. I mean,
they learn so much.
It teaches you discipline. It teaches you accountability. It teaches you it's okay to mess up. It teaches you that it's okay to push yourself out of your comfort zone because at the end of the day, it's still going to be okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of life lessons.
Absolutely.
Learned in sports.
You don't realize it at the time, but as you get older and you start reflecting back and you look at how you're doing things in your current role or even just life, a lot of those things have been learned over the years just from being involved.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, anything on the horizon for the future of Mocon? They talking about any? If it's top secret, I guess you can't tell me. But keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing what we're doing. The packaging world is ever changing with companies wanting to get to 100% compostable materials. Get rid of plastic because plastic's bad. However, if you get rid of plastic, you lose barrier properties. So the industry's evolving and it's changing, and working with the industry, trying to stay with the industry and trying to stay ahead of it as it changes for what the solutions and the needs are. So that's really where it is just watching how this whole packaging industry is changing and where it's going to end up is on a domestic level, but also a global level.
All right. Well, there you have it, listeners. Wade Sand with Mocon. Check them out. Their website. Well, what is that? AmetekMocon.com?
Yes.
Yeah?
AmetekMocon.com.
Let me spell that again. Ametek. That's Amtek. Mocon is MOCON.com. Let's put both those words together. And Wade, I appreciate your time. You're a cool dude. I see bright things in your future. Hopefully, you get you on that leadership team sooner than later, and apply all those coaching skills to Mocon.
Will do. I'll limit my yelling though. Inside the building.
Good idea. All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the American Made Podcast. Want to be a guest on American Made or know someone who should be? Apply online at theamericanmadepodcast.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app to be notified when new episodes become available. And we'll see you next time on American Made.